Hey guys, and over the past few weeks, there has been a lot of craziness surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2, and I feel like a lot of this is due to both misinformation and a lack of transparency from Nintendo. Nintendo really isn't being clear about a lot of things for the Switch 2, about why things are priced certain ways, or how certain things, like game key cards or Switch 2 editions, will work. I mean, if you do a little bit of digging, then you could see how they work, but Nintendo seems to be hiding a lot of information, which seems to be causing a lot of this. Like, I think Nintendo wants to disclose a lot of things to avoid controversy, but because of that, they are making it worse, and making the controversy worse as a result. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before the Nintendo Switch 2 launches, so if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, and if I hit that goal, I will give away a copy of Mario Kart World. The first thing I wanted to talk about is misinformation, and even though a lot of other people have brought this up, I wanted to give my own take on it, and also mention some things that not a lot of people have mentioned. And I also think it's worth mentioning that even though I'm calling out the misinformation here, does not mean that I am defending any of Nintendo's dumb anti-consumer practices. I think you can simultaneously criticize Nintendo while also calling out this misinformation. Misinformation just makes everything worse. Regardless of how bad the business decision is from Nintendo, that does not justify misinformation. I just think it's kind of weird that people have correlated people calling out misinformation with people defending Nintendo. I've seen that in like the comment section of like other YouTube channels like Good Vibes Gaming, and it just really doesn't make sense at all. That is really just a toxic mindset at that point. But there have been a lot of things that have been spreading around, like Mario Kart World being $90, which is mostly because of people mixing up the European price with the US price. Like, since $80 is already a pretty drastic and egregious, like, price hike, I think it makes it kind of flexible for some misinformation to spread through the cracks there, just with how significant that jump in price is. We haven't seen $80 games before, so some people are like, I mean, we haven't seen $90 games either, so I feel like that's why people are kind of mixing it up and thinking that it's $90 instead of $80, but thankfully this one is being debunked, and most people are realizing that that is misinformation. And then there's also the one with people thinking that every Switch 2 game will be game keycards, and game keycards are basically a download code on a cartridge. Basically, you have a cartridge, it doesn't actually have the game on it. When you pop it in, it just downloads the game. It's, like I said, it's basically a glorified download code. But a couple games will be using these at launch. Street Fighter 6 and the Bravely Default remaster. But not every game will use these. All Nintendo published games so far will be actually having the games on the cartridge. And I think this spread around because of how controversial the idea is of like the all-digital future, and how important physical gaming is, and like physical copies and physical media is in general. I mean, I am a huge defender of physical media, and I can see why people are really concerned about the game keycards, but I think it is kind of harmful spreading around the idea that all games will be keycards, because that is not true at all. And another one is the fact that Switch 2 editions are ports of Switch 1 games. I think this one is mostly due to the fact that there are listings of Switch 2 games that are $80 because they're basically the base game, which is $60, plus the $20 DLC or add-on, making it $80. And I think this just, like, I think it comes out of the frustration of that. And I agree that some of these upgrades are probably not worth the price, especially Zelda, and it can be pretty jarring looking at these games and seeing $80 for what is essentially an upgraded Switch 1 game, even though in Nintendo's perspective, it's a $60 game plus the $20 upgrade. I think it is a pretty dumb decision that they are still being treated like $60 games. So I am not defending the price of these at all. But at the same time, these are not, like, comparable to Wii U ports at all, which I've seen some people compare them to. They're basically like Switch 1 games with DLC added in them. That's how Nintendo is treating these. And I think it's causing a little bit of confusion. And another bit of misinformation surrounding the Switch 2 editions is the fact that they won't include the content on the cartridge, because they will. They're basically going to be Switch 2 cartridges with the Switch 1 game and the upgrade on it. So I think that misinformation is just due to the fact that there's a weird disclaimer on the box, which is just kind of weird. And I don't know why, because, like, they are including everything here, and Nintendo has even stated on, like, the website and different areas that they will be including the content on the cartridge and everything, so I don't even know why that disclaimer is there in the first place. It's just causing confusion, and that kind of goes into the point that I'm going to bring up later in the video about the lack of transparency. And another thing is that the game price increases are caused by the tariffs. This is more on the critical side of Nintendo now, and it seems like a lot of people who are kind of defending Nintendo are saying that the game prices are due to the tariffs. And while I won't deny that the tariffs definitely have an impact on the Switch 2, we've seen that the prices of accessories are going up, likely due to the tariffs, but some people are saying that the game prices are increasing due to the tariffs, and that isn't true, because the game prices are about the same everywhere, so I don't know why they would be affected by the tariffs. It just kind of seems a bit odd to me. It really is just because of Nintendo's greed. Why Mario Kart World is $80. It's really not due to the tariffs. I think people are just spreading that misinformation around just to defend Nintendo. So that's kind of like on the other end of it there. And then there's one final one that I saw earlier, and it was kind of an interesting one. I actually kind of fell for this at first. I don't think it was someone intentionally, like making a fake post or like purposely spreading the misinformation. But basically, some people thought that a promotional image for Mario Odyssey that was posted on the Nintendo Today app, and this promotional image has existed since 2017, but some people were thinking it's the Switch 2 update for the game, because it's like in very high quality. I think the reason why the quality looks so good is probably because it's like a developer build or like a certain render of it that looked a lot better than the Switch version, or the Switch version of it is like handheld mode, or something like that. But this image has been spreading around for a few hours, and some people thought that that's the Switch 2 update for like Mario Odyssey. And I feel like a lot of people are assuming that because Nintendo hasn't revealed any details about the games that will be getting free updates for the Switch 2. That brings us in to my next point, with the fact that Nintendo really is lacking in transparency and is really handling this situation really weirdly. A lot of the time, like I said, they're not even revealing any information about certain things like these Switch 2 editions. They're basically hiding a lot of this information about the Switch 2 on their website, where a lot of people won't see it. And that's why a lot of this misinformation is spreading in the first place. It's based on like what one person has seen from a listing, they spread it around, then thousands of people think Mario Kart World is $90, or something Nintendo said like after the Direct in a post about something, and then people think that all games are going to be on key cards. People aren't going out of their way to look at the Nintendo website, and for some people, I don't blame them, and just because that information is just kind of inaccessible, and just you have to go through like a bunch of links to get to it. So Nintendo is really handling this situation really weirdly. And another thing that they did is reveal information about things in interviews. Like, not on the website, just like, they revealed that the Welcome Tour, which is one of the launch titles for the game, is going to be $10. We already knew it was going to be paid in the Direct, which I think was kind of funny when they mentioned that there. That, like, that basically took away everyone's excitement, or any interest from the game when they said it was paid. But they revealed that it was going to be $10 in an interview. Like, not on the... There was nothing said on the website about the price. Like, they showed the price for Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Bonanza on the website, but nothing about the Welcome Tour, which is just really weird. It was just like Doug Bowser, like, casually mentioning, "Oh yeah, it's $10." Like, why? Well, like, why are they revealing it in that way? They also did another thing with, like, the developer interview, for the actual, like, hardware developers for the Switch 2. And while the interview was really cool, and it revealed some pretty interesting information, it was pretty cool seeing the people actually behind the development of the Switch 2 reveal information about it. But this was the only place that they revealed that Switch 1 backwards compatibility is handled through some sort of weird way that's kind of comparable to emulation. I'm not going to say emulation outright because I don't want to be hypocritical. The whole reason I'm making this video is about the Switch 2 misinformation. I don't want to spread any misinformation, but they're handling it in a pretty interesting way. And that kind of goes into my next point, with Nintendo kind of being really weird about Switch 1 backwards compatibility. Well, most regular Switch 1 games published by Nintendo will be fully backwards compatible. Like, really only the ones with control issues will be a bit weird. But with third-party games, that is where things get kind of weird, where there's really a lack of transparency, where some of them say, oh, they were tested, some of them don't work. Like, they're really not being transparent at all about that. I mean, aside from, like, listing some games, or they're not even listing the ones that will, like, they're just saying, like, oh, they're addressing the issue. How are they addressing the issue? Like, that's something that a lot of people would want to know. And it's just really confusing. And then there was also the thing with mentioning that Mario Kart World is $80 because of variable pricing. Variable pricing, sure. That really seems like a really dumb excuse. It really just seems like Nintendo wants to charge more for games that have a higher demand. Like, it really doesn't seem like they're going to price games for any lower because of variable pricing, and they really haven't gone into detail about, like, what variable pricing is, aside from, like, a couple comments. So that's just another thing. And then, like, speaking of these interviews just damage their reputation so much. But they also told people, basically, I'm not, like, saying it what they said outright, but, like, kind of paraphrasing it, they basically said for people to be hyped about the Mario Kart Direct, and they'll see why it's worth the price in that Direct. But the Direct revealed basically nothing. Like, it revealed mission mode, which is pretty cool, but it really just showed information that most fans already knew. So I don't know why Nintendo even said that. And then another thing is, like the NSO GameCube controller. Like, they said, like, there was, like, a little disclaimer saying that it's only for the GameCube NSO app. And that is just a really weird comment, because, like, I think on another part of, like, Nintendo's website, it said, like, oh yeah, you could use it in other places, or it was at least kind of implied that you could use it in other places. And then, like, I just, like, the fact that they even said that, or put that disclaimer, or even, like, thought of the idea of wanting people to only use the GameCube controller for GameCube games is just ridiculous and so tone deaf. Like, this Nintendo has been supporting the GameCube controller for almost 25 years now, and it's been compatible on every Nintendo since the GameCube, and so many games, so many Switch games even, like Switch 1 games support the GameCube controller. Yet Nintendo thinks, like, that people will only use this, like, the Switch 2 GameCube controller in the NSO app. That is just baffling. And the fact that Nintendo is going out of their way to saying, oh yeah, this controller is for the app, even though you could technically use it other places, we're still gonna put that disclaimer there to confuse people. Just why? Just like, why even have that I'm calling it a pseudo disclaimer, because it's not really disclaiming anything. It's just like, it has no point even being there. I don't even know why they're saying that. They're just, like, basically stirring up a bunch of confusion here. It's just super unnecessary, and I don't know why they're doing that. And then, speaking of Switch Online, there's also, going back to the Switch 2 editions, I guess they're saying that only the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are going to be on the expansion pack, but then the others aren't? That's also really weird. I mean, I think that's kind of a dumb decision. I think all Switch 2 editions should be a part of the expansion pack. But Nintendo's also not making that very clear as well. Like, they're not saying only the Zelda ones. They're just saying, oh yeah, Zelda's going to be on the expansion pack. And not mentioning that those are the only ones that are going to be there. So, it's just really, really confusing. And Nintendo is just causing a lot of harm and really damaging their reputation a lot by doing this. And this could definitely have a major impact on, like, the Switch 2's launch and everything. If Nintendo doesn't fix this or improve this situation in any way, I just think, I mean, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to fail, but I feel like the Switch 2 is probably going to underperform due to all of this confusion going on right now. It's probably going to be comparable to the 3DS in 2011, for slightly different reasons, but I would say it might have a similar outcome. Maybe not as, like, maybe not as drastic as, like, the 3DS, but I still feel like this could have some negative ramifications. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!